Hello and welcome to the Pop Council podcast, the show where we cover everything in pop culture. Each week on the show, we discuss topics in the geek world, such as various fandoms from Disney to Marvel, DC, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm Jami, Philbrick, editor-in-chief of Movie Phone and a member of the Hollywood Critics Association. We have a great show for you today. We will be discussing the Batman's deleted Joker scene that popped last week. Marvel's planning a Nova series or film. A live-action Voltron movie is coming. Ratcatcher 2 joins Fast 10. I always wanted to say that. Christina Ricci joining the cast of Tim Burton's Wednesday series, as well as celebrating Pop Council's 50th episode, a huge milestone for us and the HCA. Of course, it would not be Pop Council without my wonderful co-host, Wendy Lee. Hey, Wendy!
Hello, Jami. How are you on this rainy LA morning?
I'm doing all right. As we were discussing before the show, the rain is upsetting Murphy. And so if you're wondering why I'm positioned sideways, if you're watching, it's because I've got one mind hosting the show and one hand on Murphy to make sure he doesn't bark too much. So how was your weekend, Wendy?
It was a nice weekend. The weather was, pretty warm, especially for spring. My allergy didn't like it, but I, allergy aside, liked it. And of course, feeling the rain this morning, trying to juggle dog, umbrella, other things. But luckily, Navi is pretty good at it. She knows that she doesn't like to be in the rain, so she takes care of her business real quick. And then so it's a normal 20-minute walk. It's shortened to 10. She's I'm done.
Yeah, Murphy's the same way, although he doesn't necessarily do all his business before he calls it a day. So that's might be something we're dealing with. But I've got a little orange raincoat that he puts on, it looks like a fisherman. So we'll put on the raincoat after the show if it's still raining and go out. Well, Wendy, normally we would be joined by another member of the Hollywood Critics Association or someone else from the entertainment industry. But this week, because we are celebrating our 50th episode, it's just going to be you and me. We're going to do a little old school Tonight Show retrospective of the last year, just basically a full year we've been doing this. But first, there's something else on everyone's mind this morning. And I know you watched the Oscars last night.
I definitely did.
So it's normally not something we talk about on Pop Council, but since we are members of the Hollywood Critics Association, listen, I want to hear what you think about the winners and the hosts and the dresses and all that stuff. But honestly, the biggest moment of the night, arguably, certainly since, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty said La La Land instead of Moonlight, I certainly think this is but maybe one of the biggest moments, in Oscar history for all the wrong reasons. But of course, I'm talking about the slap heard round the world, literally.
Unless you're in the U.S., you didn't hear it because they muted it.
Right. That was very good point. Yeah. So, my friend in Turkey, I was slacking with him, and he heard the whole thing. You're absolutely right. All around the world, they did hear it, except in the U.S., where I would say, 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds where the audio was dropped. You could tell some words were being said. Listen, at first, I had no idea what was going on. You thought maybe it was a joke, part of an act, because when Will Smith walked up, he was smiling. But then there was a sound effect. You know what I mean? And that's either a real sound or a sound effect. So I thought maybe it was a sound effect because on TV, it looked like he didn't even connect. It looked like, kind of the old school fake out, Hollywood punch. But no, Will Smith really slapped Chris Rock across the face.
Open palm across the face.
Open palm across the
face.
Full
body twist too. When I watched it last night, because the sound was taken away, it made it look like it was choreographed, and both of them have been on camera for many, many years. They've been performers for a long time. It's literally a room full of, the industry's best. So I was like, oh, it's it's a joke.
That's what I thought at first,
especially since the sound was off. And then I thought something was wrong with my, when I was watching, I was like, what's wrong with my computer? And I was streaming too. I was on Twitch. So I kept on trying to mess with my settings. And I was like, "What? No, but I can hear other things. So what is this?" But then they cut to.
Well, so then there was a screaming match, and in the US, the audio was taken out, but you could tell that was real, right? So like whatever element I thought was maybe fake at first, once he gets back in the seat and listen, doesn't take a professional lip reader to read what he was saying, right?
Yeah.
Like I could tell without the audio exactly what he was saying, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. So those are pretty harsh words. So I knew at that point that we had gone to another level. But there's a lot of fallout from it. And just to kind of recap, so Chris Rock comes out, he was presenting Best Documentary, decided to do, he's been a host, I want to say at least twice, if not maybe 3 times in the past. He's a comedian, one of the best ever. Wants to come out and rib the audience a little bit. I mean, I think everyone was into it. Was he the one with the joke about Javier Bardem and Penelope? Yeah, that was funny, and they took it well. And then he moved over to Will, and I guess so. There's a little bit of a history because if you remember when he hosted in 2016, that was the Oscars So White year, and Jada and Will didn't attend as a boycott, but his joke was like, Will wasn't nominated for anything. No, you're on a TV show called Gotham. No one invited you to the Oscars. You know what I mean? So that I think is where, which was a funny joke at the time. I think he made the joke about, it's like me saying something about getting in Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited. That was the joke 4 or 5 years ago. And so the feeling this morning is that there's still some pent up anger about that. And if you look at the clip, Will was smiling at the joke. Jada kind of gave it the eye roll, and then Will saw Jada's eye roll. And I wonder, and I don't want to get into obviously their relationship, but a lot's been written about that over the last year or two as well. Clearly he felt he needed to defend his wife. And then there's also the aspect, I don't know if you heard about this, I was not aware that she has alopecia.
I only found out last night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Safe to maybe assume Chris Rock probably didn't know that either. But listen, it was a joke. It probably shouldn't have been given that light. It probably was not a good joke to do. Outside of that light, it's a pretty harmless joke, In fact, I have to tell you, when I heard G.I. Jane 2, I was like, oh, are they making a sequel? Like I didn't even get the connection to how I didn't get any of it. Like I didn't get it at the time.
Yeah, same. So the context was missing for me as well.
Yeah. And I think given the context of what she's dealing with, Chris Rock shouldn't have said that joke. Not knowing that context, it's a fairly harmless joke. And so it does seem like Smith was overreacting. And listen, I have to sort of take the stance of like, I think you need to defend your family and defend your wife and that kind of thing. But she can defend herself. So does that need, do you need to do that sort of chivalry type of move? And then 2, like you cannot assault another human being anywhere, let alone national television. I mean, that part of this is completely insane.
Yeah.
And the Academy has rules on, and that type of behavior. I mean, it's in the bylaws. You're not allowed to assault anyone. So
what's the normal protocol?
To evict them either from the event or from the group, from the Academy altogether. I mean, do you take the Oscar away for that behavior? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like when I go down my Twitter feed, it's all everybody's talking about. There's people on both sides of the situation. Should he have even been able to stay? Should he get his Oscar taken away and all of that? It was just so crazy to watch that whole thing go down last night because, like you mentioned already, because for us in the U.S. watching it, they cut the sound, and I think the camera even cut a little bit, like you didn't know what was happening. Right. And I really thought it was like a bit because there was. So I remember because it happened so quickly. I saw the Jada eye roll. I actually didn't see Will laughing about it, but I do remember seeing Jada. I mean, now because I've watched it 50 million times because it's everywhere. But I was like, oh, she didn't appreciate that joke. And that was without knowing her condition with alopecia at all. So that definitely hit a sensitive spot for her, which I can understand. For anybody, like that's hard. And then when Will walked on stage, and I thought, okay, he was gonna do like a funny like thing, like heckling at a comedian, which some people do at comedy clubs. We don't love it, but they do it, right? Not comedians heckling at us. I mean, the crowd heckling at a comedian. Like they don't let them do their routine. So I thought it was gonna be that, and then the movement happened. I was like, what's happened? So all in all, it was just crazy to see it go down during something. As an award show like the Academy Awards, as an audience, I kind of didn't know what to do with myself. I can't imagine sitting there in the Dolby and witness it happening. There was a photo of Nicole Kidman, who her expression kind of was like literally all of us because she's front right.
Well, Lupita Nyong'o was right behind Will, and the look on her face was insane. She
just tried to stay as composed as possible, but even she was shocked. When he said it the first time, she was just, and then she's just like, this is not my moment. I can't do anything. Like, what is she?
And then I like the idea that Denzel had to go over to him during a commercial break and talk him down. And like, I don't know. I mean,
Will was a mess during his acceptance.
He was a mess during, and Denzel was right. Like, listen, obviously there's a lot going on.
It's very emotional is what
there's a lot going on in the Smith family there. Okay. And there's a history with Chris Rock poking fun at them. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it hit a raw nerve with Will. He should have been able to compose himself. Like, you're about to win your Academy Award. You've worked your whole life. Like, he ruined the moment for himself, for his family. Now, ratings wise, I got to imagine producer Will Packer was like, this is the greatest. He has to pretend like they didn't like it, but come on. ABC is loving this.
Look, I think when Oscar said we want better ratings, I don't think they want it in this light, but nonetheless, just they have ratings. People are watching.
I mean, the Oscars was this close from being live on YouTube next year. You know what I mean? Like, Will Smith may have saved the Academy Awards from getting canceled.
Here's my thing is sure, defend your family.
Yeah.
Feel all kinds of way you should feel emotionally for that. There's just a time and place for it. I think Jada, from the way she took the joke, is she rolled her eyes, and that's all she was gonna do. And then she would have gone and said all the things that she wanted to say, or go and find Chris Rock after the show or right after him. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it was a very emotional moment that we all kind of didn't have the right to witness, but somehow still witnessed it because it was during the Oscars.
Yeah. And I think, like, look, it still would have been a big deal if he hadn't gone on stage and he just yelled, keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Maybe a little bit better than like hitting somebody.
Well, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Right. It would still have been a spectacle, like, no doubt, but it wouldn't have been quote unquote a crime. You know what I mean? Like, it is illegal to assault somebody. And I just think it would still have been a big deal, but like, I think he would have been able to come back from it a little bit better in his speech, or like you said, like, just wait, like, talk to Chris Rock backstage afterwards.
Yeah, if you're gonna confront somebody, do it at least, just privately. Have your moment then, and just be like, I don't appreciate what you. I don't know. I can't put myself in his mindset.
I know we can kind of Monday morning quarterback this as much as we want, but it does then get into the kind of category of like how much of his perceived anger and protection of his wife was sort of for show. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need the public to know that I'm doing this, as opposed to, I don't know. We don't know what's going on inside.
Yeah, you never know what somebody is experiencing.
I don't want to make any comments, but I do think that, you can't punch a guy on TV, no matter what he says to you. You just can't. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Well, let's talk about other things did happen at the Oscars besides
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I thought just I don't know, did you kind of get to check out like the best dressed, like the way people were like, I loved Timothy Chalamet. I love
Oh, with
Simu
the
Liu.
like with
Yeah,
the
with the
nothing.
no
I was
shirt.
like,
That
okay,
was bad. That was great. I like Simu Liu
yes.
with the red tight suit. I like that. Actresses, I loved Lily James. I
Oh
thought
my
she looked
gosh.
beautiful.
Yes.
Am I saying this correct? Am I getting the name right? Haley Bailey.
Oh yeah, Haley
Who's
Bailey.
going to
She's
be the
gonna be the
future
Little
Little
Mermaid.
Mermaid. She
Yes.
looked beautiful. I loved Kristen Stewart's shorts and that. I loved that little ensemble. So yeah, there was some really nice. Was there anything that stuck out to you fashion wise?
Oh yeah, I gotta say, I noticed a lot of red on the red carpet. And I had a stylist friend that told me this was many years ago, and trends change. But many years ago, he said and this is his own preference. This is not like a thing across the board for all stylists, but he says he avoids putting his clients in red if the carpet is also red to
Right.
avoid them blending in. However, this year we did see a lot of red, but I also noticed that it was a darker, cooler tone of red, like Simu Liu and Ariana DeBose kind of had that similar. They looked fantastic.
Yep,
I
she looked great.
really liked Jessica Chastain's dress. I liked the ombre. It was glittery. It gave me Padme vibes.
I did not like
Oh
Jessica
my
Chastain's
gosh, I
dress.
loved it. I couldn't like stop staring when anytime she was on camera. And then the Billie Eilish, just all black ruffles. I was like, yes, absolutely. And then I gotta say the Beyonce, the entire entourage of her backup singers, the musicians, the dancers during her performance at Be Alive. Wow. And it was a bold color because it's the color of the tennis ball.
Right.
Tied it all together, and I really
didn't even
liked
realize that.
I think that's what they were going for.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, clearly they were on a tennis court.
Yeah, absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
and I did like Amy Schumer's first dress. Amy Schumer's first dress, I liked because I thought it was cool that the bow kind of outlined the color of the dress, and then it kind of went like I thought that was really cool too. But honestly, not a single bad look this year.
No, did Serena have like a tennis? Was that Serena or Venus with the tennis kind of dress at when they introduced in the opening? It was sort of. I thought it was supposed to be like a gown that kind of looked like a tennis outfit.
Oh, I like that.
I thought that was cool. Both the musical number, well, all the musical numbers, but particularly Beyonce and Billie Eilish, I thought were very, very good.
And the singer Sebastian. Oh my gosh!
Yes, he was great too.
For the song that was nominated for Encanto, Dos Oruguitas, I think it's called, with the butterfly on the suit. So if you watch Encanto, you're understanding the meaning of the mariposas. I really, really like that a lot too.
I guess they had some controversy with the Bruno song. I was just hearing a little. Yeah, it had something to do with Megan Thee Stallion's.
I have no problem with Megan Thee Stallion joining.
Me neither, but
I really like her. I just thought that we were gonna get like the movie version,
right? I think that's.
So I was waiting for the Dolores' part. I was like, all right, I'm gearing up for it, and I was like, wait, where's the sound of falling sand? Where is it?
I think that's sort of the controversy. I also want to say that I was somewhat skeptical about Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina Hall, not for any other reason other than, to me, on the star meter, Amy kind of peaked about 5 years ago, Wanda 10, and Regina as an actress, I don't think has peaked yet. So I just thought it was a weird kind of looking at star power, like weird three people to choose. That being said, I thought they were awesome. I thought they completely nailed it. I thought Amy was as funny as she's ever been. I really liked how they kind of, they didn't draw it out. They had the three of them kind of introduce each other. Two of them went away. Amy did her bit. Regina, I thought, was very funny with her sort of, I don't know, sexed up kind of, the
COVID
persona.
one?
Well, the persona. She was playing the character. She was playing the character of Regina Hall, kind of like, the sex pot, sort of.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that was interesting. And Wanda kind of playing sort of the elder statesman, and then Amy sort of playing the almost clueless comedian. Like, why am I here? I really liked it. I thought the three of them and having them all kind of come out in separate bits. Wanda pre-recorded something, and I didn't think that was needed. I thought it was just
the museum thing.
And it was fun, but I just thought it was
it's like a little commercial for the museum.
Well, I could hear editors in the back of my head saying, "Oh, you have time for this, but you don't have time for me to accept an award." You know what I mean? I could just hear those complaints coming.
What did you think of the pre-recorded categories?
I am so glad you asked, because I've got a hot take on this that a lot of people are not going to probably.
Let me get my coffee ready. Do it.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. I worked in feature films in editorial for 6 years. Some of my friends are editors. I get the people that work in the industry, and I get why they were upset when, they were told you're gonna be televised, but they were, right? Like, really, all that was cut out, if you actually, and I could see a lot of, civilians across the country saying this morning, like, why were people so upset about it? They did show Best Editor. I saw the Best Editor give his speech. Watching at home, you probably don't realize that part of that is taped, and then they're cutting to Jessica Chastain live applauding. As a television show, that worked, I thought. I get why people in the Academy were upset, but I don't know. All it really did was cut out the walking. Right?
They said they were cutting it because of time.
Listen, if you even say every award has 10 to 15 seconds of walking, right, of the person walking in the audience of the award, and if there's 20 awards and you're cutting 10 to 15 seconds of walking, you're saving 5 to 10 minutes, right, on the show. So I thought in execution it worked well. In theory, I understand why people are upset with it, but everyone who won still got to give their speech. They still got their time on national, on international TV. I thought it actually worked really well, but I understand people that have a stake in things, that are going to maybe, who work in costumes or wardrobe or, editing, that have a different point of view, and I get it. But as a television show, I thought it worked well.
I still felt really weird watching it, because you could tell it was televised and that they were cutting to. So I imagine for the audience, it's weird to have to watch it on the Jumbotron. And
they are actors. Wendy,
of course.
Actors, they act for a living.
And they're of course they're gonna of course celebrate. Yeah, they're like, not what they're gonna do, like sit there and not clap. You should always clap when somebody wins an award. But it just felt like if Oscars wanted to cut it for time, that wasn't it. 5-10 minute walk time is nothing. It's nothing, and that it doesn't take 5 minutes to get to that stage.
And I agree. Then doing a 5-minute taped comedy bit with Wanda, that doesn't help your argument.
You know what they could have taken out that wasn't necessary? Those most cheered moments and most whatever weird, and they used the Twitter as a poll.
Well, you brought up another great subject. Okay.
Not that I don't mind seeing them. It's great. It was fun. But
so that was the Academy's answer to this idea that the Academy just nominates 10 movies no one cares about, and that's why the ratings are bad, because no one watches the Oscars because they don't care about the movies anymore, right? That's the argument. So their idea this year was to then do this Twitter thing, right? What they didn't know is that, did you notice who won each of those awards?
Yeah, Zack Snyder's films.
Right. The release the Snyder Cut,
which
people,
by the way, we over here love. We love both of those movies. I'm just saying that.
I'm not talking derogatory about them. I'm just saying the Academy needs to know that if you're going to put polls on Twitter, they're going to get rigged by certain groups. And
what was the movie that made it up there in a number 3, Cinderella?
The best moment of the year was number 2 was the 3 Spider-Men together, and number 1 was Flash running back in time.
Yeah,
in Zack Snyder's. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's not the best. And I love Zack Snyder. I think it's one of the 10 best movies of last year, but I don't think that's one of the best moments. I mean, anyways, I know. I think the Academy needs to realize that the internet is rigged, and you can't put polls.
When you have when you put up a fan thing, the dedicated fans, how do you think we got the Snyder Cut?
Right.
How do you think we got it? Because the fans wanted it, so we were able to have that.
That was going to happen. Yeah. Well, and look, I love Zack Snyder, so good for Zack. You know, Zack's got a really strong crew
Zach's
out
like,
there.
My fans.
Yeah. It was like Zach won an Oscar last night. Well, listen, we talked a lot about the Oscars. We have a couple topics we want to talk about. But
wait, real quick. I'm just so happy for Coda and Troy Kotsur for winning. I was like in tears. I was in tears. I was really happy for them.
Well, that's the other thing is really there were no surprises, right? Like, I think Kenneth Branagh beating Paul Thomas Anderson for best screenplay was probably the biggest surprise I saw, because, you know, I mean, unless you were still kind of thinking Power of the Dog would win, but I think
I was thinking maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was still a possibility, but I think most sort of pundits and people that do what we do had probably already seen that Coda was, you know, edging that way, and certainly the four. I mean, I guess Best Actress was probably the most up in the air, but you know, after the SAG, it did seem like Chastain was probably gonna win it. So,
but it really could have gone anyway.
It could have. I actually ended up being 6 for 6 with the big awards.
Ooh.
Yeah, which I don't think's ever happened in my life.
You know, this is like the one year I didn't do like the Vanity Fair poll thing at home, and it's the one year I would have gotten the most correct.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't really any surprises other than that surprise. That was the only surprise.
That was so many jokes, memes already happened. People have, you know, the Batman.
Yes,
people have already made the creative choice to change it to that situation.
Yeah, no, the internet's gonna have fun with that. Well, Wendy, before we jump into a couple of these topics we're going to talk about, you know, 50 episodes.
I know.
I mean, that's a big deal. We, you know, of the original shows that started on HCA, we are the last man and woman standing. So, I mean, you know, we have it all to thank to you guys for watching, and you know, but I mean, listen, we've gone through what, 2 or 3 variants together.
Yeah.
We brand new president. We done virtual at-home Oscars, now and in-person Oscars. We've done, you know, we talked about Spider-Man, and oh my God, I mean, I feel like Zack Snyder's Justice League was like the first big thing that we were talking about every week. Yeah. And then into Batman and Spider-Man. What was like the thing that we discussed this year? What was sort of the Pop Council topic that was your favorite, or your favorite? And it could even be sort of a recurring, like, you know, who's going to be in Spider-Man or this, or, you know, but there are topics that, you know, WandaVision. Well, that was the other thing I was saying.
Yeah, WandaVision's the one for
every
me.
Disney Plus show together so far, and we'll be going through Moon Knight in next week. Yes. So we've done all the Disney Plus shows and Star Wars shows. And yeah, what was your favorite sort of ongoing topic?
I think it's our constant horrible fan theory about whether or not Mephisto is going to show up in WandaVision. And I think a small part of me is still holding out hope that maybe, just maybe, it's like, is that Mephisto? Will this be Mephisto? Right. And I think it just became just so fun to even, like, we kind of stopped taking that part of it seriously and just have a good time. And just seeing the guests come on and listening to their perspective, because a lot of them have very interesting takes on them. And I also loved getting to know each one of our guests more and more. And then my favorite thing is probably just like sitting down every Monday morning talking to you about all the geeky stuff. Because sometimes we do have different perspectives. So it's really cool for me to hear somebody else's and the why they're approaching it that way. So I've just really had fun with the show. It's really fun outlet for me to get to talk about all the nerdy things that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, I agree. It's great to get to know some of the other members of the HCA who come on the show, some of the other guests, professionals that you and I know in the industry that we've been able to have on the show, and hearing their different ideas and thoughts about some of this geek stuff that we talk about. And then just having this outlet, to get to share with you, you know, our thoughts on things. And it was especially great during the pandemic, and during the heart of the pandemic, when we weren't going out and we weren't going to screenings and doing a lot of journalism stuff, this was really great to have this outlet to have an opportunity to do that. I think for me, I mean, I did the Mephisto stuff was really fun, and I also agree. Like, I was reading someone writing about Moon Knight recently, and they even mentioned like Mephisto's never going away. You know what I mean? Like, that's always going to be the thing that people mention for some reason. But I really enjoyed all the will they, won't they appear in Spider-Man talk.
Yes.
You know, and my favorite is the meme of you know, Batman and Darth Vader and Jesus and everyone in this picture in the Spider-Man poster saying, will this meet our expectations? And, you know, I was actually thinking about this too, Wendy, just because of the Christmas break and the embargoes, we actually never gave our own personal reviews of Spider-Man No Way Home on this, on
oh my gosh, did we really not? I
we
mean,
really never discussed it. And I don't think we need to go back and talk about it now, but just to say that, you know, that poster that I kept talking about, like, will this meet our expectations? You know, for me, the amazing thing was it did.
Yeah.
And we had the highest expectations you probably could for any movie or event or anything in the history.
Right.
And they knocked it out of the park. So that was a lot of fun. I think all the sort of leading up in a full year of talking about Spider-Man, and we'll be able to do the same now that they've moved the Flash to next year. We've got a full year to just talk about, is Wonder Woman really in it? Do you think she's in it? What role does Michael Shannon play? So maybe we'll have some fun with the Spider-Man fun with the Flash.
Yes, I think so. I think so. Yeah, I am kind of bummed now that you mentioned it. I was like, oh wait, that's right.
Do you have any thoughts on Spider-Man you want to give real quick? We can. This is an open
I mean, holy crap. I went in sitting down expecting it to, I thought that I might come out slightly disappointed because I have the tendency to overhype myself when I go into these films. And, you know, after all the fan speculations and all that, I'm like, are we really going to get to see it? So I was pretty hyped for it. And then I got nervous right before the movie started. I was like, I just hyped myself up way too much for this. And I walked out overwhelmed by how fantastic that film was. It met it checked all the boxes and then some. It got like bonus credit. It just so good. Where do we go from here with Spider-Man, you know? And now we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness coming up. And are we going to see the Spider-Verse and the multiverse kind of... There's just so many possibilities. And that's why I love this show, is because we get to talk about things like this and speculate. So yes, Spider-Man, all aces, A++ in my book.
No, me too. And I you know, to sort of tie that into Oscars, and then we'll move on to some breaking topics.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say that, like, you know, one of the things, my curtain is moving. There must be a dog.
Oh, Murphy.
There must be a dog. But obviously we were talking about the Oscars and the ratings, and one of the issues that they think is the problem is that, you know, the movies that are nominated aren't the movies that general audiences care about. And I just really, really, really think that they missed a really great opportunity this year not nominating Spider-Man No Way Home. You know, wouldn't have been like a cheap, like, oh, we're just nominating a comic book movie, because on Rotten Tomatoes, it is the second highest critically acclaimed film of 2021 after Power of the Dog, right? It's more critically acclaimed than Coda, which just won.
Yeah.
I think Coda's only like 91, you know, it's not that far down, but you know what I mean? Like, there are movies that were nominated for Best Picture that their Rotten Tomato meter is in the 70s.
Yeah.
And you didn't nominate the second most critically acclaimed film of the year because Spider-Man's in it? I didn't. Short-sighted, bad thinking, wrong-headed, as Norm Macdonald would say, wrong-headed.
Wrong-headed.
On the Academy's part. Well, listen, we've got about a half hour left. We can buzz through a few of these topics.
Let's do it.
One of the big things that obviously we sort of knew had taken place, because director Matt Reeves had talked about it after opening weekend of the Batman, is that there was a deleted scene between Batman and the Joker. Would have taken place, I think, sort of towards the end of the second act, beginning of the third act. He has, as it would seem, a previous relationship with this guy that they're calling fellow inmate, but we all know that's the Joker. We've got another closer look from the scene here.
Look at that.
Barry Keoghan, am I saying his last name right? Barry
Keoghan.
Keoghan, playing the Joker. Of course, he was in Eternals as Druig, and playing Joker here. Yeah, it's interesting that they cut this scene. So I guess the scene is the way Matt Reeves was sort of explaining it, that almost like a Hannibal Lecter kind of scene, right? Like he's Clarice going to Hannibal for advice, you know, to get Riddler. So that I think is a really cool idea. I didn't love Barry's Joker cameo with Riddler at the end of the movie. I thought it was like too sort of vague. Like if you're going to go there, like go there. Don't like kind of pussyfoot around. It seemed like they were kind of pussyfooting around a little bit. You know, just in that scene, I could see a ways you can say that's the Joker, but then you could also later cast another guy and say that wasn't the Joker. You know what I mean? Now, if you had included this scene, that's a different story.
It's a whole different thing now.
Yeah, I think this scene makes him a more important character in the overall story of this film and whatever, you know, in the Patton Batman universe, right? And so I think that, and I get why Reeves decided to cut this scene, but I would have cut the other scene as well. I think once you cut this, having the other scene is just like a, you know, it's sort of just like a teaser. Hey, look, fanboys, we didn't forget Joker. You know what I mean? Like it just, it felt a little cheap to me the way that it was shown in the film.
Yeah.
But if you had included this scene as well, I think overall it would have been much better.
I really enjoyed this scene. I am glad that they made the choice to release it as soon as they could. I think they waited for like the appropriate amount of time for everybody to see the film, to have seen that end credit, and then to kind of, not that we needed confirmation that they were showing us, you know, Matt Reeves' version of Joker, but this scene, the interaction, the acting between the two of them, I really enjoyed Barry Keoghan's portrayal of the Joker. I really did. It's quite different from any of the other Jokers that we've seen before. And that's not to take away from any of the previous Joker's performances at all. But he definitely made it his own, the overall aesthetic look for him as well. I really, really liked. And we got to remember, this is, you know, we're seeing a year 2 Batman. So this Joker is also, you know, so what I did like this, there's a lot of things to break down. I feel like I need to watch that scene again. But one of the lines that the Joker, or unnamed prisoner, said, the first anniversary is paper. And so does that mean Batman and the Joker, even though he's not named the Joker yet, have known each other for a year? And what sort of dealings have they had already? Because by the way they're talking, they've had some dealing with each other. What did you think of that?
That's fascinating. Yeah, I didn't pick up on the paper thing, but that might be the indication there. I mean, Reeves has said that this is who you think it is, but he's not that guy yet, right?
Ooh.
So the idea is that this is the Joker, but he's not the Joker yet. Well, I don't know. He looked like the Joker to me. I mean, his skin was pretty pale, and he had green hair. And so, you know, I don't know exactly, you know, what he means by that. I mean, I can infer that what he means is like he hasn't really become the full Joker yet. But we also don't know what this Joker's history is. Like, does he fall into a batch of chemicals at Ace Chemical Plant, or is he just a guy that so you know what I mean? Like, there's been different iterations of the character's origin, so who knows?
Yeah, I can't wait to see in the future of within, like you said earlier, the Pattinson universe, if you will, instead of Pattinson, we'll call it Pattinson.
Right.
When we're going to get to see this character again, that's going to be interesting.
And also, you know, there's an interesting opportunity here, I think, for them to do something that I haven't seen in a Batman movie before, certainly in a Joker movie, is he could be Red Hood before he becomes Joker. So maybe he's talking to Red Hood and not Joker, although he looks like Joker. I mean, that's the problem with that theory, is that Barry's looks like Joker. But, you know, if he's not the Joker yet, well, then that means he's the Red Hood. Or he's the stand-up comedian guy that becomes the Red Hood. I mean, obviously there have been many, many iterations of the character, both in the comics and on the big screen, different iterations of his origin. So who knows, and I mean, I think even it's been a little while since I picked up a DC comic, but I think there was a recent 3 Jokers storyline that sort of implied that Batman hasn't fought one Joker over all the years. There have been at least three different Jokers. I think, and if I remember correctly from that, I think this is a Jeff Johns comic book, and I think it was like the original kind of like 40s and 50s Joker, and then the killer Joker was sort of like the Killing Joke Joker, the one that killed Robin, and then there was sort of like a criminal Joker who was more of like the kind of ha-ha 70s cartoon Joker. Yeah.
Wow.
But so there's different, I mean, without getting into the weeds on that, there's obviously lots of different avenues and directions they can go with this. But I think that the scene's really good, and I think that it would serve the film better had they just left it in or cut both of the Joker scenes.
And then release them both.
And then they would have released them both now as well. Yeah, exactly. No, and you're right. They did wait a little longer after release to release the deleted scene, because remember with Batman v Superman, they released that deleted Luthor talking to Steppenwolf scene.
Yes.
Like the following weekend. Like I think maybe even like the Monday after the Friday that it opened. Like it was really quick. It was really quick. So good for them to wait a little while to do this. Well, let's move from DC to Marvel for a second. And Nova is a character that Marvel fans know well. We've seen the Nova Corps, which is the sort of space military group, if you will, the Green Lantern Corps of the Marvel universe. We've seen them, that he belongs to. We've seen them, of course, in Guardians of the Galaxy. And he, Nova was a character in Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics, so there's been a lot of talk about when he would appear, and James Gunn has talked about him in the past. But we got news this week that one of the Moon Knight writers and writers, not Moon Knight writers, but writers, although that sounds like a cool new Marvel Disney Plus show as well. Moon Knight opens or premieres on Disney Plus Tuesday at midnight, Wednesday the 30th. So those writers, or some of the writers from that show, are creating or working on a Nova project, not saying yet whether it is going to be a film or a Disney Plus show. But I think that, I mean, look, Marvel's kind of running out of big characters, right? Like we still have all the X-Men, we still have the Fantastic Four to reintroduce. But as far as, really important Marvel Universe comic book characters that we haven't seen in live action yet, there aren't many left. And I would say Nova and Namor are probably the biggest two.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just a matter of, eventually Marvel and Disney are going to get to all of them. So if the success of the franchise keeps up, and I don't see any reason to see why it won't. So I think it was just a matter of time to get Nova. And I think he'll be a great addition to sort of the space side, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, all the Marvels, Fantastic Four are going to be coming in soon. And, kind of Kree and Skrull and all the space stuff we know is coming. So what were your thoughts on Nova?
It's a pleasant surprise to read about it, because I just wasn't expecting it, even though I knew it was inevitable that we were going to get to meet this character soon in the MCU. So what's really interesting is that they do have the one of the writers from Moon Knight attached to this. That makes me wonder if they're going to approach it via a Disney Plus series, which I would love, because I really do think that fleshes out the character just a little bit more before you just pop him on screen. Because I think the Marvel slate is so filled with so many movies that it's like, if you keep giving everybody a solo movie, which by the way we all love, I think they're gonna then push back those ensemble movies that we want to see on screen again. So I'm excited for this. I feel like, ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, we've been talking about the Nova Corps. So like for a movie or a show centered around Nova himself is going to be, I think, a very necessary addition within the MCU.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think signs are sort of pointing towards a Disney Plus show. If Moon Knight is any indication, that sort of seems like with all the other Disney Plus Marvel shows, it was sort of continuations of these stories.
Yes.
And Moon Knight seems like the first Disney Plus series that will be, here is sort of the 6-hour movie version of this character. Here is the introduction movie with very little other MCU elements in it, right? WandaVision had S.H.I.E.L.D. and had, this one and that one, and, Pietro showed up, we had all sorts of, things. This one is like, this is just Moon Knight. And so it would be interesting if that's sort of the future plan. Like, obviously Marvel was very successful with introducing their newer solo characters in films, but you can even look at like the first Doctor Strange didn't do crazy numbers. You know what I mean? The second one will, but that's because it's got all the other Marvel stuff in it.
It's essentially an ensemble movie.
Right. But if you look at, Shang-Chi would be the example of one that did overly well, right? That really did super, but even Black Widow, and obviously that had pandemic issues. But you could even look at, any of the ones when they're just, and Black Panther and Captain Marvel were more zeitgeist moments things, So, but I think it could be smart because at this point, Marvel hasn't really, different people out there can make their opinions about it. But they haven't had like a legitimate bomb. Right. There has been no
I agree.
bomb from Marvel in that sense. Some movies are better than others, sure, but there's been no legitimate bomb. And when you think about 21, 22, 23 movies, that's, there's a couple bombs in the James Bond catalog. You know what I mean? Like that's, in the Batman catalog, nothing is perfect. And to have that kind of a perfect streak, and I wonder if they're sort of thinking, now that we have this thing worked out with Disney Plus, with the television shows that are very successful, maybe this can be our launching ground. If something doesn't do quite as well on Disney Plus, it's not the end of the world the way it would be if you were making a $250 million movie. So, although the TV shows get pretty expensive too, I think. It's interesting to see if Moon Knight is going to be the beginning of that business model of, let's use Disney Plus to launch new stuff. And then you can go to the movie theaters to see Moon Knight now interact with Werewolf by Night and Blade and Black Knight and this one and that. You know what I mean? Do you think that that's a direction that they might be headed in?
It sort of feels that way ever since they launched all these shows on Disney Plus, with respective Marvel characters. And I think it's a really good idea. And now that I don't love seeing, again, these solo heroes get their own movie, like that's how it kind of, think about Iron Man, how that movie started, it kickstarted the entire MCU, right? And without that, we wouldn't have had like Avengers 1 and 2 and all these other following films. But I like the idea of getting to meet these some of these characters that I have not read about, don't know much about, and I get to sit down every week for roughly 40 to 50 minutes with them, depending on how the show runs, and just really get into it, where we wouldn't be able to get that in a film, or we would get it, but then we would feel like some things got, left out, or if it was too rushed. Like, I don't want to complain about it. I just want to sit there and really be in their world.
Yeah.
So I think that's the model going forward. Yeah.
Cause they could get truncated, and listen, origin movies are tricky. You know what I mean? Like they've had good luck with them, but they can be tricky. And so, if you have the real estate to be able to sort of experiment with some of these things on TV and have them be so connected that audiences, and it's also kind of going off the idea that film and TV are basically the same thing at this point. And so, or at least to most audiences. And so, then you can do some sort of exciting things with the movies. You can kind of flesh out those characters in the TV shows so they're, well known and better known once you get to the films. Yeah, it's interesting. We're going to keep our eyes on it, right, Murphy? We like that. All right.
Murphy likes it.
Murphy likes let's talk about actually another kind of space thing real quick. So the director of Red Notice, Ronson Thurber, am I saying his name right? Ronson
Thurber.
Right, yeah. Is going to do a Voltron movie, live action, which is Murphy. Come here, buddy. Come here.
Murphy's like, I want to talk about Voltron.
You want to talk about Voltron? Come on over here. So yeah, he's going to do the Voltron series. He obviously did Red Notice with Netflix and has is it Dungeons and Dragons?
It's Dungeons and Dragons.
Netflix? Yeah. So Voltron, we don't know where it's going to be yet. He's shopping it around. One might think Netflix would make sense since they are, I believe, the network that aired the Voltron animated series, the most recent one, right? Defender, Legendary Defender. So, yeah, I mean, listen, a Voltron live action movie is like what the 8-year-old Jami was dying for. So I love that. I hope that it doesn't become too Power Rangy. That's my biggest fear. Because even as a kid, I always felt Power Rangers were ripping off Voltron to begin with.
Because they have the Zorgs that come together and they make a Zorg instead of Voltron.
But also, let me say, I'm a little older than the Power Ranger. I don't want to offend our audience who are Power Ranger fans. I was a little older when that came out. So I always thought that was just a cheap Voltron ripoff. But
Voltron is so important to so many people. Like the story is so important to so many people. So I hope that they execute it well. What I am really excited about is that Rawson Marshall Thurber seems to be as passionate about the geeky stuff as the rest of us. So when he, and I know this is aside from the main, part of Voltron, but when he talked about D&D, doing the live action film, and he talked about what he played a while ago, that he talked about what kind of character he played. I was like, okay, so this guy gets it. Like you have to understand D&D in order to make a D&D live action. You can't just scratch the surface like, oh, you roll a dice. It's like, no, it's a lot more. It's a lot more involved than that, even though dice rolling is fun. So I'm assuming that he's going to take, the same geeky approach to Voltron, and as long as you do it well and you tell a good story, I think we're going to be really happy with it. So surprisingly, I'm just checking it out on the report via the Hollywood Reporter. Warner Brothers, Universal, Amazon are amongst the 6 or 7 studios that is kind of in the shopping this whole package. But according to sources, Netflix, which you said, has aired the Voltron animated series, which also hosts the Red Notice movie that is by the same director as this upcoming Voltron live action film. Netflix apparently is not in the running.
Interesting.
Yes.
Like they turned it down, or they're not?
It does not say in particular.
Interesting.
Maybe, and I can't see how they wouldn't be interested.
Right.
So maybe they're trying to shop it for an on-screen in-theater release.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering...
Although Amazon is a part of the mix, so that's weird.
But if the budget... I mean, Netflix has a lot of money, but the way I understand the Netflix business model is more sort of the old school Hollywood business model, like the 90s model, is that they spend all their money up front on director, actors... like those. That's how you get Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, and Ryan Reynolds in that movie. They all got, and I'm making up a number, but they all got 30 million each. So now you've got 90 million up front. Well, then you're going to have less money to spend on the effects and on this one and that. And listen, that's worked well for Netflix. But that wouldn't work well if you're a visual effects heavy film. That's why some of the visual effects, That's why a lot of the visual effects in Netflix movies doesn't look as great as maybe we want them to.
I see. Well, that makes sense. And if they're going to, they want to make sure that the special effects, the visual effects looks real good for Voltron.
Frankly,
there's going to be a lot of those.
You don't need a Dwayne Johnson or Ryan Reynolds to sell Voltron.
Voltron's going to sell itself.
Thank you.
Yeah,
exactly. Voltron sells Voltron. That's right. Well, with just a couple minutes left, Wendy, let's do a quick fire round here.
Yes.
And we're just do two little castings. So the actress who played Ratcatcher 2, Danielle, I'm not going to say her last name right, so I'm not even going to try.
I think it's McClure.
McClure, thank you.
I think.
I'll go with it. In the Suicide Squad, and she was great in it, actually. She's a great actress and had some really great scenes in the movie. And she is joining Fast 10 with Vin Diesel and one would assume Jason Statham and Tyrese and the whole gang. And then this is some really crazy news. This is amazing. So Christina Ricci, the actress who played Wednesday in the Addams Family movies and the Barry Sonnenfeld Addams Family movies from the 90s, has been cast in the Wednesday television series that Tim Burton is producing and directing for Netflix. The series, now, Christina Ricci will not be, it's a little confusing. She will not be playing Wednesday.
Yeah.
She will be replacing a character that Thora Birch was playing, but is leaving the series. So Thora Birch will play the character in the first however many episodes. Her character then is no longer on the show. We don't know what will end up happening to her. Christina Ricci will play a new character that will be the head of the school that Wednesday goes to, which is what Thora Birch's character's role was before.
That
makes sense. I know Murphy is barking loudly.
No, it makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So she won't be playing Wednesday, but you got to imagine there's going to be some sort of hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing there. But just to see her with Tim Burton again, who didn't do the Addams Family movies, but of course directed her in Sleepy Hollow. Yeah, it's very exciting. What do you make of both the addition to Fast 10 and Christina Ricci and Wednesday?
I mean, welcome to the family. You and I both enjoyed her so much as the Ratcatcher. So I am very excited to see which side she is going to land on in Fast and Furious. She's going to be part of the Van Diesel family, or is she going to be something else? I feel like she's going to be an addition to our family, the Toretto side of the family for Fast 10. I think she's going to be in, so I'm very excited for that. And for the Christina Ricci news, I mean, I'm excited, but I'm also a little disappointed to know that she's not going to be playing, like full adult Wednesday Addams, which is like I think what we all would love to see, honestly. And maybe that can still happen, but the fact that she is a part of it is pretty cool.
Completely agree. Love her casting. Love that she's in it. I do wish that the news was that she's going to bookend the series or be the narrator as the adult version. And that doesn't mean this could also be throwing us off from that idea. So, but listen, Christina Ricci is awesome, and having her in that with Tim Burton, amazing. As far as the Fast news, I guess I see her probably more likely joining the family. I mean, she could be someone working for Cypher, assuming Cypher is the villain running around, something like that. And then after the last one, I have to say, though, she could be anybody's sister.
I know.
Like, she could be John Cena's sister and not Vin Diesel's, or she is Vin Diesel's, or maybe she's Michelle Rodriguez's sister. She could be Jordana Brewster's sister, but not related to Vin Diesel. I don't know how they make that work, but it seems like someone can be your brother and not your other brother's sister. Like, it doesn't make any sense how that works,
Family's family, so We take it.
Family's family. Your family. You're in the family. So yeah, that will be. But she's a great actress, and I think she's a good fit for the Fast movies.
Absolutely.
Well. So.
Yeah.
Wendy, that's the 50th episode.
I can't believe it.
Wow. Let's see what kind of, and I love this. This is a great kind of low-key episode for us to do. I thought this was great. I'm now looking at our reminders. I want to thank the audience for tuning in for over a year to 50 episodes. We honestly, we wouldn't be here for 50 episodes if it wasn't for you guys watching us. So we really, really do appreciate that. And of course, we're just one of the shows the Hollywood Critics Association has running on their YouTube channel. So you want to make sure you hit the subscribe button. You like this video. You tune in to Pop Council every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Lots of after shows on the network as well. I believe a Moon Knight show is launching this week, so you want to make sure to check that out on YouTube as well. And Wendy, oh my God, it was so great doing this with you this week again. And honestly, it's been amazing doing this with you for an entire year. And there's no one I'd rather be doing it with. So let everyone know where they can check you out and everything wonderful that you do.
Thanks, Jami. It has been such a blast talking with you every single Monday, and I don't want to do this show other than anybody else but you and our guests. So you can find me on YouTube over at the Movie Couple channel, where we have movie reviews, trailer reactions, and we will be doing reviews for Moon Knight as well. So make sure you tune in starting this week, early Wednesday morning. And then let's see, you can find me on the socials. On Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all of that stuff, TikTok, just at my name, Wendy Lee Zaney, to keep up to date with me on what I'm doing every day. Back to you, Jami.
Awesome. And I'm Jami Philbrick. You can check out my stuff on Movie Phone for movies and reviews and showtimes and all that good stuff, as well as my name at Instagram and Twitter. And just as a special guest, just because he was barking the whole time, this is Murphy. Murphy, you're on the 50th episode. Woo! Murphy! We want to thank you all. There he is. He's barking. We want to thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week on HCA's Pop Council podcast.
We're going to talk about Morbius, so make sure you guys come back.
What's that, Wendy?
I said we'll probably be talking about Morbius, so make sure you guys come back.
Oh, yeah. We're Morbius, Moon Knight. It's a big week. This is a big geek week, so we've got a lot going on next week. You want to be sure to check back with us, and we will have a guest as well. So thank you again for watching for 50 episodes. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.